we're getting people, and the Palestinians will absolutely be a member. I don't say that with any bravado. I just tell you the Palestinians will be a member.
Our editor-at-large, he joins us live now from Leicester. Good to see you, Ahmet. You know, we were listening to President Trump earlier really boast this big step towards peace. We've been debating with all of our guests and correspondents about if there's really any peace involved in these agreements for Palestinians. This was supposed to be about securing peace between Israel and Palestine. And it seems President Trump has really only secured acrimony between the Palestinians and at least what used to be their fellow Arab nations and brothers.
Well, Andrea, I don't know, it's multidimensional, and all the guests have been talking about different dimensions of it. But my concern is Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, they're now extremely thrilled with the achievement that they think they have achieved by bringing these two states that are far away, hundreds of miles, they share no borders with Israel, and trying to bring this as if this is a big diplomatic victory. But when it comes to the real issues on the ground, they should be thinking of how this might backfire very soon. First, it's in terms of Bahrain. I think by doing this kind of an agreement, the Bahraini ruling family is giving the opposition, which is the majority Shiite, a pretext to revolute and to give them more platform to demonstrate against the minority, the Sunni minority that is ruling Bahrain now, especially that they're being now clearly played by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. They've been portrayed as the backyard or the vessel state, as the other guest just described them. On the other hand, you have the Palestinians for the first time, Mahmoud Abbas and Ismail Haniyeh, the two rivals who never sit together for years. They've spoken together and they've agreed to kind of build a united national leadership to embark on resistance. They would start with the peaceful resistance, but we don't know how far that might go. All these things that Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, by alienating the main partner, the Palestinians, who feel and whose statements are unprecedented, officials like Saeb Erekat, the main representative of the PLO, a senior official of Fatah and the PA, is saying that we are revisiting our relation with the Arab League and with these states. So we don't know how far the Palestinian leadership might go with its feeling of being alienated, completely disregarded. How far this will be reflected on the ground, it might lead to different dynamics that Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu have never thought about it.
Right. So you're saying they haven't anticipated how this could potentially backfire, but maybe they have, because, for example, you're mentioning the Shia population, the majority population of Bahrain. They have already tried to protest. They've already tried uprisings. It hasn't worked. They've been crushed brutally. And now you're looking at an empowered royal family in Bahrain that now can secure even bigger and better weapons from the United States by signing this agreement with Israel. The Palestinians were asking the question again, what more can they do? They have protested, intifadas. It's not worked. They've been further and further suppressed. So I'm wondering if Donald Trump has thought about that actually and realized that they can win. These dictatorships, especially in Bahrain, can be empowered even further to make sure nothing backfires.
Well, Andrea, like in sociology, nations are always the black box that you never anticipate their reactions, their dynamics. So you don't know. You would say that now it is a wave. It used to be a wave in Bahrain in the Arab Spring. Now they're speaking about it's over. But you never know, because this is happening again and again. It's a spiral surge or revolutions that may come back in a different version. It might be another version that is stronger, that is more violent. You never know about what's going to happen. And now, what is the major issue is the indicators coming out from Saudi Arabia, the crackdown of Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince, on dissent, on his royal family, is a clear indicator, according to many reports coming out from the kingdom, that there is resentment, a widespread resentment among the royal family for this rapprochement or deal between the Gulf states and Israel. For the nations, they're not speaking because they're suppressed, and they know that they will be manhandled if they decide to take to the street and protest. They've seen this elsewhere, and they know that these crowns are supported by the major powers. Nobody is going to speak about the kind of violence against the protesters if it happens. They have, I mean, the big democracies in the world, if you will, including the United States, they would outweigh the arms deal with the Saudi Arabia and with these countries over human rights. That was very clear in Khashoggi, the Saudi journalist who was killed by the hit squad of his own country in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. So the people, again, you don't know how they're going to react, how this is going to play out between the governments of these countries and their own nations. The opposition, the backfiring might be far away from the expectations. And may not happen anything. Like, this is also possible because, because the people at the end of the world, Andrea, the people are feeling this fatigue of war and demonstrations. But for the long term, I think they should double check.
Okay, fair enough. Let's look a little bit then at Iran, because it was interesting to hear our last analyst say that Iran is being used as an excuse to move forward in this way, somewhat, unilaterally excluding the Palestinians because Iran is really the bigger threat, and we need to form this alliance against the Gulf nations that oppose Iran's power, and Israel and the United States. But Iran has kind of been backed into a corner now. I mean, their economy is struggling, and it makes you feel almost, as if an animal that's caged, all it can do in the end is potentially attack. And now we have the United States threatening Iran to come back with 1,000 times the force if it should take any actions, for revenge, for example, with the assassination of their general Qasem Soleimani in Iraq. All this rhetoric is being upped. And now we see this alliance being formed with its with the U.S. Gulf allies, Israel's now allies, and being able to again secure more firepower from the United States. Are we looking at potential confrontation with Iran, military confrontation?
I don't think that this is likely to happen, at least in the near future. But if you think at Donald Trump policy, I mean foreign policy, and you would think of three main portfolios. The first one was his deal and his historic meeting with the North Korean president. And then you look at the repercussions or what followed. Nothing happened. It's still not moving anywhere. That was a big failure for Donald Trump promises. Then if you take it to Donald Trump in Afghanistan, he's withdrawing his forces from there. Now he's talking with Taliban in Doha and elsewhere, trying to bring an internal reconciliation between the fighting factors in Afghanistan. And from Iraq, he is downsizing the troops, withdrawing at least 2,000 from Baghdad and bringing the troops back to the United States. And now it's coming to the maximum pressure, the policy of maximum pressure vis-a-vis Tehran, which is not working because, like the foreign minister of Tehran is moving next week to the European countries, visiting Germany, Italy, France, Spain, all these European countries. And it seems that Donald Trump is taking himself apart from the European Union. The only policy that he thinks that he's very good at is the relation with Israel and bringing these countries, I mean the Arab countries, with Israel on the table to kind of formulate what they call an Arab NATO against Iran. Now, is this realistic? Is this what really they're going to do? In terms of geopolitics, there is no doubt that Iran is one of the threats, but also these countries are more interested in forming a new front against the rising power of Turkey as well in the Mediterranean. In Libya, the United Arab Emirates is interested in that. Israel is interested in the oil in the Mediterranean and all the dynamics in the Mediterranean and the struggle or the conflict for the natural resources, including natural gas and fuel in there. So it's so multidimensional and multi-complicated to say that it's a front against Iran, when at least the United Arab Emirates is still having good relations with Iran and completely kind of severing all the relations with its neighbor Qatar. So it's so kind of lunacy in terms of the politics, if you will, how these countries or powers are dealing with the region in this reckless way of thinking that this might bring an end to the blood on the sand of this region.
Ahmet, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for being with us. We're going to cross